What's up, everybody? Welcome in on this Tuesday night, 9 o'clock on the dot on this Tuesday night. Glad that you guys are here. It's the Rebel Report. My name is Michael Borky. Again, really appreciate you being here as you always are. Tonight, simple topic. It's one of my favorite ones. We do it every Tuesday for the most part on the radio show, and it's a simple question. What did you learn about said team, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, on the radio show? But today, obviously, we're just talking about Ole Miss. What did you learn about Ole Miss that you did not know previously? What did you learn about Ole Miss in the win over LSU that you did not know for sure about the team going into the game? I've got three. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say, and we'll get into it on this edition of the show. Going to be kind of a shorter one tonight. My voice, I've got to rest it. Long weekend, had obviously 5 radio shows, 3 podcasts, and then calling high school football on Friday has always, it's wrecked my voice. Friday night leaving the stadium, it's just not working anymore. Then we had the game Saturday. Then we played like hell all day Sunday. We were watching the Ryder Cup and cheering from our living room and watching the Saints and cheering from our living room. And I'm just losing it. I'm not functioning well right now, and I've got to recover. So we're going to be a little bit shorter tonight, but I'm glad that you guys are here. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, like all that good stuff, and a rating and a review. If you subscribe wherever you get your podcast, just search Rebel Report and subscribe there. And really appreciate you guys doing that. The show is brought to you in part by Toyota of Brookhaven, off of Exit 40 in Brookhaven. Check them out. ToyotaofBrookhaven.com. $1,000 off on me. $1,000 off on me. Any in-stock new Toyota. If you just simply tell them that it was me that sent you, they will take care of you like a person. They will deliver an outstanding car buying experience because that's what they do. So check them out. Toyota of Brookhaven. You don't have to live in the area to shop at Toyota of Brookhaven. ToyotaofBrookhaven.com. That's the website. And don't forget, again, to tell them that I sent you. All right, my 3 things that I learned about Ole Miss that we didn't know for sure previously. Number 1, they are ready on the lines of scrimmage to be a playoff team. Will they be one? We'll have to see. I've told you guys on Sunday that my current prediction, for whatever it's worth, should be very little to you, is that they will make the playoff, that they'll finish 10-2 and make the playoff, or better, and make the playoff. But we didn't know going into the game for sure that they are ready on the lines of scrimmage to be that team. LSU defensively, talked about it all week going into the game, and my take remains the same after the game. That defensive front and that coordinator are really, really good. And LSU defensively is going to be a problem for people really all season long. And just because they lost to Ole Miss doesn't suddenly make that untrue. And I hate when people do that. Going into a game, they talk about how great this team is and, oh, they're so good, and LSU is going to win this game, and on and on and on. And then when they lose the game, suddenly it's because they suck and not because the team that beat them is good. I can't stand that. And I'm not going to do that here. That LSU defensive front is legitimate. That LSU defense in general is legitimate. They are going to give people problems all over the field. And that Ole Miss offense moved the football very well against them. They ran the football well. Trinidad played a really good game, had one mistake, could have taken off and run through an interception anyway. But he was really good. The weapons were really good. Kewan Lacey was awesome. But on the offensive line, especially in pass blocking, they have now proven, right? They have proven that against a team at that talent level, they can protect the quarterback and they can run the football effectively to give their team a chance to win a game. And they hadn't been given that opportunity yet. So they proved that they can against the better teams, because that was a question going into the game, or at least it should have been, is, okay, look, Arkansas, one of the worst defenses in the SEC. It's a team that just fired their coach. Tulane's an AAC team. So offensively, they looked great under Trinidad in those 2 games, but the price of poker went up significantly with LSU. And can this team, can they protect? Can they create running lanes? Can they produce against a team with the talent level that LSU has? And the answer is yes, they can. Specifically, the left side of the offensive line. I've talked about the season that Diego Pounds is having so far. Um, he didn't allow a pressure in the game. Pass protecting, they're getting quite good there. Um, Even ran the ball when they had to as well in this game. On the line of scrimmage on offense, they are ready. And defensively, I did not doubt Pete Golding. I figured they were going to come on. Even after the Arkansas game, I was still with you guys. Remember, I said, I don't think it's a talent thing. I think they were out of position, things like that. And they are getting better and better every week. Eccles is getting better. Cam Franklin, I thought, showed a lot of really good things. Xavier Harris has been having a good season so far. Prince Will, who was celebrating at the end of the game, so you would think that from a health perspective, he's okay. I know he was banged up and had to leave the game, but he was having a nice game. Centarian Perkins looks like he's fitting into his new-ish role pretty nicely. Ole Miss's defensive front is not as good as last season's, but I think they are getting better every week. And in this past week, that was their best performance of the year. They're going to see better offenses. I think Oklahoma is going to create a challenge for them, and we'll see what that looks like here coming up. Georgia's obviously going to be a challenge for everybody, even though they're vulnerable, and they proved it Saturday. But Ole Miss's defensive front is getting better, and you're starting to see some more consistent play from some of these guys that they were expecting. They were so inexperienced. As they're getting experience, they're flashing more and more. So on the lines of scrimmage, they're ready to become a playoff team. Number two, they have a quarterback that is ready for this moment. And also has a short memory. So, again, same thing applies. Arkansas just fired their coach for a reason. Tulane's in the AAC. Trinidad was awesome. He did a lot of incredible things, operated the offense. I said going into the LSU game after Tulane that he should be your guy. He is your starting quarterback, and you roll with him. He gives this team the best chance to win. But it was still, what can he do on this stage against a team like this? And he passed that test with flying colors. He still has to go on the road. That's another challenge upcoming for him is how will he handle a road environment? But that was the best team he's ever faced in his life. He was under pressure some and did a beautiful job at evading pressure. He was awesome on third downs in particular. Spread the football around to 9 different pass catchers in the game. But more importantly to me, it wasn't that he didn't make any mistakes again. It was he did make a mistake. And what happened after that? He made a mistake. He threw his first interception in the second half of a close game against LSU. And look at the next 2 drives after the interception. He was basically perfect after the interception. So more importantly than anything else that Trinidad did in this game, he showed you that he has a very short memory, and making a mistake did not knock his confidence, didn't change the way he played the game, didn't do any of that. Trinidad took a situation where he made a mistake, the first one of the season, in a tight spot, and he didn't let it rattle him. And that was a big indicator of your quarterback's maturity. That was a big indicator of his readiness to produce at a high level. And that was the most impressive thing to me that he's done this season. And there's been a lot of really impressive things that he's done this season. But the short memory, threw an interception, got to get back out there, and he did. And not only did he get back out there, but he delivered and made great plays in timely situations and delivered a win for his team. So you have a quarterback that still has not seen the road yet. That will be another thing that we'll talk about as we lead up to the Georgia game. But right now, he's passed every single test that has been thrown his way. Being a starter for the first time at this level, passed. Following up a really good performance 1 with an efficient good performance 2, passed. Best team that he's played all season. Is he ready for the speed in which LSU is going to play? Absolutely. The answer is yes. after he makes his first mistake of the season? How is he going to respond to adversity? Early game adversity as well. Remember, the offense got off to a weird start. There was a lot of penalties. Had to get the ball out quickly. LSU kind of teed off on Ole Miss early in the game, a little bit anyway, and he just settled in and played well. Made a mistake, settled in and played well. So every single test that's been thrown his way, he's passed. You did not know before this game how he would handle the speed in which a team like LSU played, and he passed that test without a doubt. And then finally, I think we've learned that in the secondary, Ole Miss is becoming quite viable. There was a lot of new faces in the defensive secondary. We talked about it. And going into the game, there were a lot of people that thought that LSU was just going to tear that defense apart because look at what Arkansas scored all these points and all this stuff. The back end of Ole Miss's defense, I think, is really solid. And we talked about it on Sunday, but I'm going to reiterate the stat that stands out to me the most. It's a defensive line stat as well because it shows that they were able to get some pressure and force the ball out. But Garrett Nussmeier averaged under 6 yards per pass attempt, but more importantly, he did not average a first down per completion. LSU averaged 9 yards per completion in this game against Ole Miss. For reference, Ole Miss averaged 14 yards per completion in this game. So when LSU was able to complete passes, they weren't, there was one explosive pass, and it counts. I think Wyatt Williams wants that back. He made up for it later with the interception. But even when LSU was completing passes, the tackling in space was really good. The coverage was really good. I mean, I don't remember a blown assignment that LSU was able to take advantage of after the second possession of the game where Xavier Thomas had that long reception that, again, I think Wyatt Williams with another opportunity would have played that differently. But that, to me, was a big indicator of a secondary with all new faces, a lot of guys that joined the team late as well, that they did some really good evaluating because that's a quality quarterback. That's an LSU offense that has weapons, that is going to throw the football around on some people. And what they did was really impressive to hold LSU's offense to under a first down per completion. And that, to me, is an indicator that you have a secondary that not only is making it difficult to get open downfield, but when you do complete passes, they're not letting that turn into explosive plays. So those are my three. What are yours? We'll go for another 10 minutes or so. I'll try to go quickly here in the comments. But again, you guys probably can hear me. I'm losing it already tonight. So got to recover as best I can. But glad you're here. We'll get to your comments after I tell you the podcast is brought to you in part by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online, absms.com. Advantage Business Systems. If you're a Mississippi business and you need technology in the office, Advantage Business Systems, absms.com. They'll take care of you for all of your Mississippi office technology needs, and tell them that I sent you. You'll get that complimentary office technology assessment. Also, podcast is brought to you by Priority One Bank. They make you their priority every day with their online banking platform. It's a one-stop shop. All you need is an internet connection, and you can do whatever it is that you need to do with your money because Priority One Bank makes you their priority. All right. How's the bye week after that amazing win treating you? Oh, it's going to be great. So Friday, the team I'm calling games for on the radio are all the way up in Tupelo. That is going to be – did I get it? I didn't get it. That's going to be a pain on Friday, driving all the way up to Tupelo to do the – I'm going to do the radio show from the stadium in Tupelo and then call a game and then have to get in the car and drive all the way back here on Friday. That's going to be a pain in the rear end, but that's but that's okay. And then it's Sanderson Farms Championship Week. The golf tournament's here, so I'm really excited about that. It's a lot of fun. It's my favorite week of the year here in town, and the field's pretty darn good too. So, handful of I think 4 former or current Ole Miss players are in the field, by the way, guys. So, yeah, worth checking out. How's it going? It's going great. Good to see you too, Cody. It's good to see you, man. Been saying it, but they're a better coach team than last year. Maybe the best so far in Kiffin's tenure, defense and offense. And again, three games that Ole Miss lost. All three one-score games that Ole Miss played in last year, they lost. So far, they're 3-0 in those same games. They are a more mentally tough football team. They look a lot more comfortable in these spots than they did a year ago. I think Kiffin's demeanor is different, but also you got to give credit to the offensive line because they have been able to move the chains in tight spots in the fourth quarter by running the football. And Kewan Lacey also has just been a star. So, how'd your son enjoy the game? Oh, he loved it. Oh my God, did he love it? The B2 was awesome. He loved the Grove, and like just I think I told you guys Sunday, but we walked down the Walk of Champions, and shout out to all the fraternity guys on the fence on the Walk of Champions. They understood the assignment. You know, a bunch of college kids pounding beers and worse, or better, I should say, before the LSU game, waiting on the team to come through the Walk of Champions. And I've got a 5-year-old on my shoulders, and he loves to high five people and stuff. Like he's a people person is what he is. And we walked down the Walk of Champions, and I walked close to the rail, and I mean, a couple of hundred fraternity guys just high fiving my son. He's like, "Yeah, let's go, buddy, let's go." All that. That was his favorite part of the whole game, I think, was that moment right there. So, really cool stuff. Really good stuff. I really appreciated those guys understanding the assignment. It was really cool. The kids are all right. That's what I'm trying to say here. Where did I park? Actually, I got to park at a friend's house. So that was good. There are no great teams in college football. There are some very good ones, and Ole Miss is one. I agree. I think Oregon has the best chance to be college football's great team. I think they have the best chance to be the great team. Ohio State looks like that, though, as well. But I agree with you. I think there's a big group of teams that are all good enough at the top. But anyway, defense looked good, but you learned that Ricky Fletcher is a lockdown corner. He and Wydett Williams played lights out back there. And I love their stories, too. And I hate it for the programs that they came from. But, I mean, Ricky Fletcher's South Alabama guy. Wydett Williams is a ULM guy, but more specifically, Wydett Williams is a Delta State guy. And so that's awesome evaluation from the Ole Miss staff to look at those two guys at that level and believe that they can play at this level, and look at them. Sunday live stream had to have been the most lively stream I've done yet. Yeah, for sure. For sure. You know what's funny, man, is the basketball ones got really fun and lively last year. The Alabama win and the SEC tournament buzzer beater that night, and then the two tournament wins, those were really lively. So as far as the team goes, this is the best all-around playing team you've seen in the Kiffin era. Take the next pot off? Nah, no way. Can't stop, won't stop, man. Hopefully, I will have the chance to visit with one of the Ole Miss golfers in the field of the tournament. That's my goal. I'm going to be out there tomorrow doing a couple of other interviews and stuff. But hopefully I can catch up with one or more of them, and I'll bring that to you guys on Thursday as like a special edition thing. Learned that the defense and offensive lines are both getting noticeably better as the season goes on. Also learned that Chambliss is definitely, quote, that guy. Feel like Ole Miss needs to win against Georgia as hard as it seems. Don't like the spot of them going to Oklahoma as a top 10 team after. That will be a very difficult spot for sure. And who knows what will happen with John Mateer. But both of them very good teams. Both of them defensively really salty. Both of them very vulnerable. Very, very vulnerable. Can't say what will actually happen, but I think we'll know the path for Austin Simmons on the day of the Washington State game. I agree with you. I don't think that you can I don't know how you can go back to Simmons after that game, and I don't think that they will, but I don't know how you can. Trinidad has earned the full-time starter job. He's earned it. I think he gives them their best opportunity to win games, and I don't think you want to screw with what you have a week before you have to go to Athens and Norman in back-to-back weeks. Do not go into Mississippi State as a 2-loss team. Oh my gosh, you're not kidding. The fans there will be very motivated by the chance to eliminate Ole Miss from the playoffs. The LSU panicking has been gold. A lot of people, and I get it from fans. Fans panic after losses. That's fine. But there are a lot of people in media that just have not caught up to the new reality of college football, and I don't know when they will. One, the O-line is working together, and it has solidified. I do think that Lane hinted at the possibility of one more personnel change up front. But yes, the DBs are solid and better in coverage as a unit than last year. Stole State's playoff chance? Yeah, back in 2014, right? They will want to steal Ole Miss's back, need to have a buffer going into Starkville, or they can just line up and win the game, But I hear you. Ole Miss has the best offense in the SEC and probably top 5 in the country. Hard to disagree with that. Ole Miss will move up in the AP poll if Ole Miss wins this weekend. Yeah, absolutely. Not sure how Kuchis won Offensive Lineman of the Week when Pounds didn't even allow a pressure. Yeah, think about that stat for a second. And didn't Townsend only allow 1? But let's just stick with Pounds so I don't miscredit. But Diego Pounds, the left tackle against LSU, did not allow a pressure. Not just no sack, no pressure at all from the left tackle against LSU. He's gotten much better than he was a season ago. Helps that he's healthy. What does Simmons do? That's a good question. I don't know. I wish I knew. He is publicly saying and doing all the right things. I mean, he got hurt. That's why this has happened. So it's not like he played like crap for 4 weeks. He got hurt. And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, does Ole Miss successfully get Trinidad an extra season? I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out at all. But I do know that you can't worry about 2026 anymore. You have a team in position to make the playoff right now. Don't screw that up for the sake of next year, in my opinion. Defensively, they've made major strides since that first half against Arkansas. It's a unit that, if healthy, they are now, will get better as the season goes. So they've given up in the last 10 quarters. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm doing my math correctly. So 29 plus 7. Yeah, they've given up only 36 points in the last 10 quarters. So pretty darn significant there. Got to have 1 game out of 2 against Georgia and Oklahoma. Can't go into Starkville with 2 losses, assuming they don't slip up after. Hopefully Simmons stays and starts next year. He's only a sophomore. He is. Blown away by the improvement in the offensive line from last season, for sure. And looked like so far that they have evaluated the portal much better than they did a year ago. Also, Trinidad being able to be elusive helps as well. Ole Miss is ranked number 4, but most of the fan base isn't throwing a parade for it. It's celebrating the LSU win and then business as usual. I've noticed that. Anytime Ole Miss would get a good ranking in the past, people would kind of freak out. Nobody's even really talking about it. I mean, they are, but not in the way that they used to. Townsend's only a sophomore. Didn't know that. Bryson Sanders is a sophomore as well. They're going to have to replace both tackles, though. I do think that they have the replacement for both tackles already on roster, and if that is the case, that is big for next year having to replace those guys. I think they do. I think they already have them. And again, if that is the case, not having to go portal shopping for a tackle, you can have these guys that have already been in the system, that have already been around, that are getting practice reps, that are, I mean, they've got a couple of games coming up where they'll get to play a lot, things like that. So that would be a much better option than having to go portal hunt for an offensive tackle. I think the secondary has been mostly better than expected. Saturday, while Nuss wasn't too accurate, they weren't getting lost in coverage. They were not at all. Have work to do and know they have to keep the pedal pinned to the floor to make it. I think the disappointment of last year is going to help motivate them, even through the success. At first, you were skeptical about the use of Centarian Perkins, but after seeing his performance against LSU, you're coming around to it. Yeah, I mean, it's working, right? And I think that the more the season goes, the more productive you're going to have with Prince Will. I think Prince Will had his best game before he got hurt, I think. And Franklin and Womack had a sack taken off the board. Probably shouldn't have been. But so it's working. And I think it's going to keep getting better as those edges continue to get better. But also that's Perkins' best chance to play at the next level, too. So, very young team. They are. The entire defense has been incredible compared to preseason expectations. Yeah, the first half of Arkansas really made you wonder, right? But they made some adjustments, and they've been really good since. Would you say this is the best secondary Ole Miss has had in the Kiffin era? So far. Now, they're only 5 games into it, but yeah, so far. I don't think there's a Trey Amos on this, but don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but think this win is not going to age well. LSU is just not good, and they got really exposed. They're going to end up before a lost team. They might, but again, this is just the kind of thing that I don't necessarily agree with. It's LSU got exposed by Ole Miss. Why is that not because Ole Miss is really good? Well, like, why is that not the reason as opposed to, they just suck? I don't think they suck. But I don't think they're winning the national championship either. I never did. A lot of people talked about that in the offseason, but I wasn't buying into that. But, I mean, 2 of their next 3 games are at home, and their road game is at Vanderbilt, who's better. But, I mean, it's South Carolina, Vanderbilt, A&M at home. I don't think I would be surprised at all if they win all 3 of those games. Now, they certainly could lose some of them too, but they're off this week. Nussmeier can get a little bit healthy. I'm not convinced that they're awful. I just think Ole Miss is good, and Ole Miss is well coached, and they exposed LSU because Ole Miss can expose LSU. And there's not that many teams in the SEC that can do to them what Ole Miss did, if any. I think this team is going undefeated at home. Mississippi State at the end of the year at 11 a.m. needs to be a win, especially with how they're losing key players every week. The better team wins. Yeah, they're pretty banged up. I have a feeling that State's going to kind of have a hard time this weekend. They're hurt. They're down 1 man in the offensive line room. Possibly their 2 best defenders. They definitely got banged up, but we'll see if they're available in this game. We'll find out tomorrow night. So LSU had an NFL caliber defense with a future head coach calling the plays, and it was not close. Yeah, see that they have too much talent, and they're coordinated by too good of a coordinator for us to just talk about how bad they are on that side. Would you say this is the best wide receiver room in the Kiffin era? I think it's not debatable. Definitely the deepest one. Absolutely the deepest one. Think they beat one of the 2 at Georgia or at Oklahoma. Think they can beat both if they're healthy and play tough, but wouldn't bet on getting both. I wouldn't bet on getting both either. Those are 2 really difficult games, but would not be surprised at all if they came away with one of the 2. one of the most talented receiver rooms in the last 10 years in college football. I think they're top. I mean, the problem is they're not going to get the accolades, I don't think, because they don't have one or two guys getting all of the receptions, which, that sounds goofy, but you guys know how the media and attention works. That they have, a top 5 receiver room in the country. I think they do. Do I believe Ole Miss is better than initially thought, or is LSU worse than what we thought, or is it somewhere in the middle? I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of both. I didn't expect Ole Miss to be this good. Come to the conclusion that 2:30 is the straight-up best time for Ole Miss football. Almost all the big wins and best atmospheres happen at that time. I do hope they get at least one more night game. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it when the schedule release came out. Was like 2:30. The golden hour looks good on Ole Miss. The golden hour looked really good on Saturday. It was a really aesthetically pleasing game. So somewhere in the middle, they get right offensively. They'll be pretty hard to beat. That's on them, not Ole Miss. Doesn't mean they will. Feel like this is the. Oh, no, knock on wood, Jackson. We're not going to talk about that. Who'd you say is the best offensive player in each position group? Ooh, best defensive player in each position group as well. Okay, I like that. Best offensive player in each position group. Part of me wants to say the best wide receiver is Deuce Alexander. I don't know if he doesn't have the same physical tools that Trey Wallace does. Like, he's just not big like Wallace, but as an overall, like, total wide receiver, Deuce Alexander has been awesome, and his body control is great. Running back, obviously, Lacey. Tight end, obviously, Daquan Wright. Offensive lineman, I think, Diego Pounds. Defensive lineman, Xavier Harris, but will become Eccles. Linebacker, Daughtery. Daughtery had a nice game, I thought, on Saturday, especially tackling in space. Secondary, I think, is it Fletcher or Wyatt Williams? Williams has had a really nice season so far. And he's getting better and better with each game, I think. Really take a step back and think about this before the season. If Ole Miss lost Austin Simmons in the Kentucky game through LSU and they'd win all of them while looking good at the same time. No kidding. What are the chances Trinidad is granted another year? And when will we find out that it's been granted or denied? So I would assume that if they want to get him another year, they're already going to start working on the appeal. And if the NCAA denies it, that's when you go find a judge that will do the thing that they did with Pavia. But I don't know what the grounds would be. I have to ask around and look more into it, because suing for eligibility works, but it hasn't exclusively worked. There has been some denials, even in court. So I'll have to look more into that to give you a better answer. I think Lane and staff learned a lot from last year's team, as unfortunate as it was at the time for the fans. I think they know and understand the significance of staying focused and vigilant. Yeah. Seen some suggestions about Austin Simmons shutting it down, but that just sounds to me like some kind of medical red shirt maybe and hitting the portal. Man, I don't want him to leave. I wouldn't be surprised if they need him at some point. We'll see. Something that isn't talked about for the LSU game is the date of the game. What if this game is later in the year, not last week? Does that change anything? Well, that game should be played later in the year. It should be on Halloween. But does that change anything? I don't think so. Schedule is shaping up nicely for Ole Miss. The later that Florida is, the better, for example. The later South Carolina is, the better. I mean, South Carolina now, they have an off week, coming off of a win, but they have LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama before Ole Miss. That ain't fun. And so what are they even looking like by then? Enjoyed the show with you and Robbie today. I really liked it. I really like doing that with him, filling in for Haydad. Kelly's comments on Feinbaum were evident that Golding's defense was just embarrassing them on Saturday. Wasn't complicated either. His unit is just much better. I appreciate that, Austin. Yeah, what the heck were you doing over in Starkville, though? Are we at the point of the year where Hayded has the Egg Bowl circle as a win for state? On the radio show, no. I think on the podcast, yeah. Did hear him say the other day that state will beat one of Georgia, Texas, Missouri, or Ole Miss. Yeah. I don't know yet if I agree with that, but they are salty. I mean, they played hard Saturday. They made a lot of mistakes too in that game and still had overtime. So they're better. The problem is I don't think they're deep enough to sustain the amount of injuries that are starting to pile up for them, but they are definitely better. Don't want him to leave either. Have to trust the display Chambliss is putting on and past quarterbacks that have played for Lane. Guys will want to come in and play there. He'll find a guy. Yeah, see, in the Chambliss thing needs to be a reminder to people, I think anyway, that you don't need to worry about the presence of one quarterback for Lane Kiffin. They will find one. They'll find more than one. And you can't be afraid to lose one promising quarterback because the track record says they'll go find another one if they need to. How is Hunter Yurchek now already fired? He's an absolute embarrassment. I mean, the things that he has said about how they have no money and no resources and all that are wild. That is your job and your responsibility to get those. What are you doing? Anyway. Also with the super chat, really appreciate you, my friend. Never let any LSU fan claim they don't care about the rivalry. They've rushed the field after beating Ole Miss 3 times in 10 years. Rushed once, could have last week and didn't. Thank you for that and your support, man. I really, really appreciate you. Hopefully Kiffin doesn't do to his team with the Florida distraction what he did to them when the Auburn job came open, went from undefeated to losing 4 of the last 5, including state. I would not be worried about Florida generally. I do think that he does need to handle when that job comes open better than he handled Auburn, but I also don't think that that will materialize the way that Auburn did up until the very end. So, are you the only one that doesn't think he's going to leave? No, you're not the only one because I don't. Almost can't afford to keep starting Chambliss and risk Simmons hitting the portal because if Chambliss goes down, they would be screwed. I just don't agree at all. I appreciate you being here. I don't agree at all. Simmons isn't leaving this team right now, so it doesn't matter. He's not leaving this team right now. Maybe he does at the end of the season. It's not happening right now. But I'm sorry, you can't play lesser players at the risk of them hitting the transfer portal, especially at the most important position on the field. I just disagree with you completely. You cannot take Chambliss off the field to protect the possible feelings of Austin Simmons. Can't do it. Your job is to win games and not next year. Your job is to win games now. And you have a team that can make the playoff. You've got to do what you can to do that now. Jumped into your boat on the James Franklin to Florida. I'm telling you that will be a candidate that won't get brought up, but I have a feeling. I mean, he gets paid really well. He's got a great job. Penn State possibly, if not probably, going to make the playoff. So that makes hiring him for Florida difficult. But I would not be surprised if because he just simply they're kind of fed up with him up there because he can't win the big game and you can reset your clock and get a brand new fat contract from Florida that you wouldn't get at Penn State. It makes sense. There's been rumors about him wanting to get back in the SEC. Can argue rightly that the 2014 team had more talent, but this is a better collective team. Yes, you can. What would I set the lines at for Georgia and Oklahoma with and without Mateer? So Ole Miss at Georgia. Georgia minus 6.5 to 7. Oklahoma with Mateer 3 to 4. Without Mateer, Ole Miss minus 1 or 2. Is Simmons at Ole Miss by February? I think the answer is yes. Ole Miss fans are planning to take over Scott Field at the Egg Bowl like Tennessee did. Ooh, they've got Texas and Georgia coming up too, so that won't be the only time you see a large amount of visiting fans there. Was the Tennessee takeover a point of conversation on the radio show? It definitely was today, yes. I mean, there was over 15,000 of them there. You might not think it yet. I still believe Freeze is going to get fired. I think he might have to beat Georgia. They keep stacking losses, there's a chance. Blows you away how many people cover college football that either don't know or don't care to admit that we're not in 2008. Yeah, it's totally changed. And a lot of people, it's just really bad. If you told me that they went 10-2 with losses to Georgia and Mississippi State, but still made the playoff, you'd sign it in blood right now. Interesting. Yeah. Lines of scrimmage wise, do they stack up? How do they stack up against the teams left on the schedule? Better than everybody but Georgia and Oklahoma. I think Georgia and Oklahoma will present challenges to Ole Miss in ways that they can overcome, though. Now, Florida's defensive front, when they're engaged, is pretty nasty, pretty good. But I just don't think that you'll have a team that is still engaged by then. So maybe that's kind of a cop-out answer. But Georgia and Oklahoma will present challenges on both sides of the ball. But so did LSU. Princeville nearly had a sack and was getting pressure before he got hurt. Best game that he had played so far. Stribling started at Washington State. They will target him a lot. Need to get him going to complete the Infinity Stones before the Georgia-Oklahoma stretch. He's flashed for sure. It's just they're really spreading the ball out. Really appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you. Thank you a ton. Unnecessary, but appreciated. I think a lot of media people straight up just don't like the state of Mississippi and Ole Miss in particular. I think it's got layers of politics, old narratives, and failure to admit that they're wrong. I think all of the above is true. If they win at Georgia and Oklahoma, do they go undefeated? I think at that point, yes, they would. Ole Miss LSU averaged around 6.5 million viewers, peaked at 11 million. Oregon Penn State was 8.5 average. Alabama Georgia with 10.5, 13 million peak, not bad at all. How about this? Ole Miss in the same time slot, right? Outdrew the Ohio State Washington game. Undefeated Washington and Ohio State. Pretty significant. Imagine a home playoff game against Memphis. That would be awesome. I'd rather it be somebody like Indiana, personally, but it was great seeing you too. I loved visiting with a lot of you guys. It was awesome. Thank you. Ads on the live stream are brutal. Double unskippable ads, that should not be happening. I have it set to prevent that. I have no idea what's going on. I'm really sorry, but I click on the setting to make sure that does not happen. So I'm sorry about that. Constantly reposting his teammates' highlights and commenting on post, always the first. Let the next guy know he's there in support. He's got a great head on his shoulders talking about Simmons. Yeah. Speaking of Penn State, finally Saturday night, more people have come around to how average to bad Drew Aller is, yet he'll be a first-round pick and ruin a franchise. Yeah, probably the Saints. Have to make the playoff if they want any legitimacy. These 10-win seasons are cool, but want trophies now. Any news on Princeville? I think he's okay. To be fair, some of the pictures going around of State Stadium being half falls orange are completely photoshopped. So I haven't seen any photoshopped ones, but the ones I've seen are real, and there was a lot of them. It wasn't a true takeover, but one side of the field was taken over for sure. I guess anywhere between 15 to 17,000 of them, maybe even more. Wish Cunningham would flash. My follow up would be whose snaps is he taking though? Who has earned the demotion to give a guy that joined the team, a true freshman that joined the team late snaps? There's only so many guys that can play. Yeah, I did see Dave Portnoy say that, but remember, he's partnered with Big Noon Kickoff now, and he's a Michigan guy, so of course he'd say something like that. But anyway, I got to run, guys. Went a little bit longer than intended, but that's okay because you guys are awesome, and I really appreciate you. We'll be back Thursday, hopefully with a conversation or two with some of the former or current Ole Miss golfers in the field at the PGA Tour event right here in Jackson this weekend. So really appreciate you guys. I'll see you Thursday night.